Hi Raveena, thank you so much for coming. It's been great having you here today, and we're so looking forward to what you have to say. Of course, Raveena Tandon, must actress, producer, wife, mother, activist. There are just so many roles that Raveena plays that it's going to be interesting to cover all of them today. So Raveena, let's start with your career as an actress. In the 90s, the film heroine was just coming out of the Amitabh Bachchan overpowering era.
Right.
But still films were being made largely around the men and much less for the heroine. Do you agree with that?
I think this is a perception which is slightly, wrong.
Okay.
And the fact being that besides this perception being already laid, everyone just kind of builds on it. For example, even in Hollywood at that time, there were different kind of films being made. Besides being in the Hindi film industry, I refuse to call it Bollywood. We have no such hills that are called balls, so they cannot be Bollywood. Over there they've got their hills called Hollywood, that's why it's called Hollywood. So we are so in the Hindi film industry at that time, there were all different kind of films being made. There were these action oriented films, there were the films which were love stories as well. See, 80s was that era where I can say yes, there was hardly anything except for the heroine to look glamorous and be happy and do stuff. But in the 90s, definitely things did change. There were films which were action oriented, like I said. So those kind of films were also being made. Plus at the same time, I also did films like Imtihan or Mohra or Andaz Apna Apna or Dilwale, where I was the central character of the film and the whole story revolved around a human drama. So there were all sorts of films being made. So it's not necessary that only those kind of films were made where girls just had a thing to do. In fact, Dilwale Dulhania, you can see, is also the biggest example one can give today.
Exactly.
So I think it was a little misconception about that whole time period, being that there are no roles for heroines. So similarly, I think Hollywood had the same trend. So even in today's day and age, when an Ocean's 11 is made, it is, I mean, Julia Roberts just had a walk-on to a scene role. She was there only for 2 scenes exactly. So that's fine. Once in a while, you do these kind of things.
But the early 2000s were really different, because that's when you got a film like Shul, you did a film like Satta, you did Daman, for which you got the National Award. So there was maybe it was also because there were then the multiplexes coming up, and so there were these different sort of films being made. So the 1990s and the early 2000s, there was a huge shift. Would you agree?
I cannot generalize the huge shift, because I think heroine-oriented films or women-oriented films have been made since the time of Mother India.
Oh yes, of course.
So that does not change. In fact, my own decision to shift to the kind of roles that had a little more substance, I think within oneself you evolve.
Absolutely.
Suddenly your brain also tells you that, hello, can't do this mini skirt into ponytail thing forever. There's a time you need to grow up. So yeah, I think my grow up happened at that point, and I said, okay, this is it. Now I need to try and get into things which challenge me. Playing rich spoiled girl, falling in love with hero, dancing around, and then some drama following it. Been there, done that. So what next? For every actor, I think there's a what next.
Yes, true. So just moving ahead now into the the next decade of the 2000s, there is again a shift where there are a lot more mainstream actresses, doing the sort of not just women oriented, but really powerful women films, and there've been a whole lot of them in the last few years.
Right.
So how different is it like working in the 1990s and in the early 2000s, and now that you're working in the second decade of the 2000s?
A lot of movies at that time centralized in and around women empowerment and the upliftment of women. A lot of movies were sanctioned also because of that reason. The government also gave movies like that a boost. Daman was such sort of a film which dealt with violence against women, and actually marital violence against women as well, and abuse against women. So it was a very, very strong topic. And I think it was when the whole crescendo reaches where a certain point where there was a shift in the perception of a woman who is married to this man, and she ultimately herself, up till then it is always mera pati hai jaisa bhi hai lekin mera pati hai.
Yeah.
That was the thing that was happening. But
Yeah.
Daman kind of changed that, because women can stand up against the kind of violence or the kind of abuse that they go through. Just because they are in a marriage, it does not mean that they've got to take a physical rape or violence or abuse. That does not, it's not a package deal with being married to the person. So that kind of brought about, and I think it was a very, very strong topic, and yes, it did win me the national award, which I'm very grateful for. But I think that was a very strong message that was sent out. Now that was 2000. I think India and Indian women have come a long way after that.
Absolutely.
So things have kind of now, accepted that yes, we have to do that for women. That is an acceptance now. That time it was growing. That you have to do it, and will people accept that? Now the acceptance has happened. Now women, the woman has come on a very on a much stronger threshold. On a much stronger pedestal, I can say. So her step from there is only further. What beyond that acceptance?
Exactly. The
so
what
now,
next that you were talking about.
Now the woman which is shown or portrayed is already liberated. Or you tell a story, like for example, the dirty picture. She had no qualms about doing what she had to do to reach where she wanted to be.
Absolutely.
Not that someone is propagating that you've got to do that, you've got to be like that.
Exactly.
That might be a wrong message to give across.
So now they're having fun. So like
it
example, if you see Queen, I mean, she's just really having fun.
Yes. So the thing being, I'm sorry, I haven't seen Queen. I still think the cast is going to kill me. But the fact that like I said, she's come onto her own. Maybe this film could have not been made 15 years earlier.
Absolutely.
But it has come to that where she says, okay, fine, I'm dumped. So what? Now it's time for me to move on. So that has come in. It's time for me to move on.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
which is nice now. It just shows a little more chutzpah in the women. It shows a little more attitude.
Absolutely.
Which is good.
Also in the 90s, there was this huge art film hangover. The sort that would have been done by Shabana or Smita 1 decade earlier in the 80s. So there was also that happening. So as a mainstream actress, did you ever find yourself being sort of marginalized in people's mind? You said, oh, well, this is mainstream, this is song and dance and whatnot.
Yes,
before you
definitely.
did the films.
I mean, in the sense that if you were a pretty face and you were beautiful, you were not taken seriously. They think, okay, just because you can do only song and dance and all, you cannot carry off a serious role. And that did happen to me. There was a lot of opposition. I do remember even at the time when I did win the national award. But luckily, one of your colleagues, Bharti Pradhan herself, she was on the jury, so she knew exactly what was happening, and So there were a lot of politics played in there. Okay, why is a commercial heroine getting a national award, but not realizing that that the film dealt with what it dealt, like we just spoke about what Daman dealt with. And yes, there was that thing of art cinema and commercial cinema, but luckily, over the years, there's a certain fusion that has happened. They've kind of blended. So it's become now what I call it realistic cinema. So realistic cinema has taken over, which I think is a great sign, because that gives everyone the opportunity to also kind of move beyond just looking pretty and doing stuff.
Tell me, when a director comes to you with a film and narrates a film to you, what matters more to you? The passion with which he narrates, or what you see yourself doing with that script?
See, if you had asked me this maybe 10 years ago, I would have had a different priority. I'd see the script, I'd see the director, I'd try to see his vision of how he was seeing the film while he was narrating. Now my priorities are a little different. And definitely if it is something very challenging enough for me to leave home and hearth and give that kind of time, take away that time from my kids and give it to that film. These are different reasons for me now at this point, in the zone that I'm in right now. I mean, for example, the only two films that I'm doing right now is, one is just basically for fun, which is Bombay Velvet, and the other one, Shab, which is again a serious film. But again, because Onir understood my, okay, fine, we'll do, then we won't shoot 15 days in a go because I cannot stay away from home those at full
Yeah,
stretch of
yeah,
15 days.
yeah.
So we broke it up into 5 days in 3 months and,
Okay,
kind of
okay.
worked around it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that is how now I choose my films. But yes, it has definitely to be something challenging that I've not done before.
True. But I'm a bit curious, the several Govinda films that you did, what was the sort of brief that the director would come and give you? Let's say David Dhawan came to you for one of his films. What would he tell you exactly?
Well, there was no brief as such, but there would be a narration definitely that what your role would be and what you were playing. But it was kind of really a no-brainer. Not that you really had to think and work on a character.
Right, right.
So it was, that's what it would be.
But then that was a different time. Okay, now, Andaz Apna Apna, of course, is a complete cult film. And I think if we released it tomorrow, there'd be like 1 million people who wanted to see it. But tell me, when it released, and it didn't do too well, what did you think of the film when you saw it?
I hadn't seen Andaz Apna Apna till now.
What?
I only dubbed for it, and that was it. I had not seen the film. So I saw it now with my kids. According to me, I think that film was much before time, the kind of humor, because at that time it was more, the kind of humor that was David's movies and Chichi's movies, and those kind of films were, accepted.
But what do you think makes it this cult film? What is it that fascinates people so much about that, other than the fact that it has 4 superstars? And well, Desperation Rawal also.
I honestly, which I've said it earlier also in an interview, that I don't know how that film got made because nobody was talking to anyone. Amir was not talking to Salman, Salman was not talking to Amir, Salman was not talking to Raji was not talking to Salman, Lolo was not talking to me, I was not talking to Lolo, Salman was not talking to me, I was not talking to Salman. So nobody was talking to anyone. So I really don't know how that film got made. But now when we all sit and we look back, in fact we were at a party and Lolo and me were narrating this incident, so everyone ended playing pranks on each other. It was so funny because everyone knew that everyone was boring. Yeah. So, in fact it was really, really hilarious that Lolo and me were at a party just now and we were narrating this incident to 4-5 of our friends. We said at the climax scene, Lolo and me are supposed to be tied behind with each other.
Yes.
And Amir had his sequences differently and Salman had, but Lolo and me were supposed to be together throughout. Yeah. So these boys, they all got together and they said, okay, now let's teach these girls a lesson. So they've tied Lolo and me, and Lolo and me obviously not talking to each other and just looking at each other. Will you have juice? She said no. So she's like, I've ordered gulab jamun, you'll have? I said no. We were actually like that, both of us. We were like, it became 1:30 and it was time for lunch. And Raji said, they were opening us up after every shot.
Right.
So they finished this shot just before lunch. And then Raji said, chalo, lunch break. And everyone just turned around and walked off. Left me and Lolo tied over there for that whole lunch break. We were like, come on. They said, no, we're just enjoying this. So they're sitting in front of us having lunch and giggling away. And we're like, what is going on? The whole film was actually made with so much of fun off the sets that I think that enjoyment kind of comes through. That spirit, that chemistry. I mean, there are scenes in which I'm actually laughing. I don't know if people really notice, but there are times when I'm standing there and I'm actually laughing. I'm going like happening? This, but which is there in the film. That fun that we had, it comes across. And of course, Paresh Rawal and everyone's character is kind of immortalized. Now, that day I was passing a store and somewhere there was a bag with Shakti Kapoor's face with those, moustache and that thing, and says, please free Grandmaster Gogo. It was like he's behind bars and, it's like, please free. It was like a sling bag. So it's become such a cult film. So everyone's characters, I think, in that film have been kind of immortalized.
Would you like to be part of a sequel? Because every little while we hear that there's a sequel coming out.
I don't know about a sequel, honestly, but I mean, I hear things like there's a remake happening and then there's a sequel happening. I feel a remake should not be made.
Yeah.
But a sequel, maybe. I don't know how they'll make the sequel. They'll probably have Amir and Salman dating some 19-year-olds while me and Lolo will be hanging with Hars on our head on some photo frame.
Okay, you refused a lot of films that went on to be successes. Dil to Pagal hai, Kuch Hota hai, Virasat. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether you have any regrets about it, but I'm going to ask you that how, at that point, were you choosing your films that you refused films that, in retrospect at least, seem amazing.
See, I entered the industry with my own rules and regulations, which I've lived with till today. I was very, very clear. I will not do kissing scenes. I was very clear. I will not do any kind of songs or scenes that have double meanings or vulgar. Or even if my films with Chichi were there, you'll never find a song which was double meaning or it was vulgar. They were very clean dance kind of and good clean films.
Yes.
So even though at that time all those kind of songs, Khatiya Khadi and all were happening, but I never kind of, I would say no. I'd rather say no. See, luckily I've been born and brought up in this industry. For me, it was actually very easy. Not because I'm from the industry, I've had my share of struggles as well. So the industry spares nobody.
Yeah, true,
But films came to me easily somehow. You know, I mean, without, I didn't do any acting course. I never thought I would become an actress.
Yeah.
So my beginning was like that.
Yeah.
I didn't do an acting course, I didn't do a dancing course, nothing. I just said yes one day and next day I was in front of the camera.
Exactly.
So that's exactly how I started.
Yeah.
So for me, it was not something that I had struggled or killed or just it was my dream that I grew up with. Every film that I said no to had a certain reason to it. Either there would have been some intimate scenes which I was not comfortable with, or there would be some kind of dialogues that I was not comfortable with. And I really have no regrets because today I have lived by my rules and touch wood, I'm happy with the way things have shaped up where I am today.
Are you ever offended at being called the must girl and be called a cheese? Which is of course thing, not that thing.
No, I was only offended when there was a cheese ad by this big brand company and they went that it's a must cheese, and why didn't they take me for the ad? That is the only time when I felt bad. That label is mine, I need to be in that ad. No, but you see, I think people are becoming a little extra sensitive and extra touchy about things. In Lucknow, for a boy or a girl, or for a good thing, or for a good dish, it's very easy to say, "Arey, kya mast cheese hai, yaar," you know?
Okay.
It's like, "Arey, bahut mast cheese hai," you know? But I would say the kind who don't speak the normal UP Hindi or something. Like for example, it's very easy to abuse in English for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the minute that same abuse is translated into Hindi, it sounds down market or degrading.
Yeah.
You know, so
absolutely.
I mean, for someone to say you're the most beautiful thing to happen to me in my life,
It's fine actually.
it's fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
आप सबसे खूबसूरत चीज हो जो आप मेरी जिंदगी में हो. चीज क्यों बोला रे? So I mean, why is that differentiation? So why?
Yeah.
Why? So it's just that because in cities or in metro cities people don't speak that colloquial, you know, absolutely earthy Hindi. I would call it earthy Hindi or Urdu.
Yeah.
That they cannot relate to it, and when then they cannot relate to it, they think, oh, it's down market, darling. How can you be called cheese? It's like, अच्छा ठीक है जी, हाँ आप तो बड़े हो, लेकिन हम तो happy हैं.
Okay, so you're married to this, you're married to Anil Tharani, who is, I think, one of the most successful distributors today.
Yeah, he got an award this year, so this is like,
Great.
distributors also getting awards, he's telling me. I was like, yeah, just be happy, go and get it now.
So what I wanted to ask, so obviously you see a lot of films because he releases a lot of really, really big films.
Yes.
So when you go and see films before the release, so on your way back, maybe in the car or at home, do you discuss it from the box office point of view, his point of view, or do you discuss it from the...
We start discussing it the minute we see the trailer. the minute
Even before
the
you've seen
teasers
it.
are sent to him, from that time onwards the discussion starts, yeah.
So is it from the box office point of view or the aesthetics point of view, which would be
I
your
am the
domain?
aesthetics point of view,
Yeah.
he's the commercial, he's the box office point of view. So
Yeah.
that's where we meet. I mean, there are so many films which are beautifully well-made films.
Yeah.
But I would say, my God, this is a fab film. I really want to see this film. He's saying, yeah, you will want to see it, but the masses will not want to see it. So there are times when he and me have this thing because he thinks completely commercially.
Exactly, that's what I meant.
You know, for example, I did a film called Shobna's 7 Nights. Now that was a film which is very clear when Sudipto came to me. He said, this is a festival film. Please don't expect anything, you know, like commercial and this and that on it.
Right.
And as a result, it did go to the film festivals. It went to the Jaipur International Film Festival. It went to Houston, went to Chicago. I
And
won
it won,
awards
yeah.
for all these three festivals as Best Actress. And the film won in another state, which I don't remember now. It went for the Pakistan Film Festival for women's, you know, it was a women's film festival.
Yeah.
It went to Lahore. So that was one thing which I had never done. I had done everything, but I had not done any film of mine which had gone to a film festival, an international film festival.
Right.
So this was another new for me. But the minute Anil saw the film, he said, "ये तो commercial release ही नहीं होगी कभी." So I said, "Why?" He's saying, "There's no item song, there's no comedy, there's not." I said, "Yeah, but this is not that kind of a film."
Right.
So he and me are very, very clear on the lines that we draw. In fact, a lot of my fans were like, "Oh, when is Shobna 7 Nights releasing? When is it releasing?" So the thing is, I just had to clearly tell them it was just a festival film, and some of these films don't get a commercial release because right from the beginning the distributors or the producers know that it's not a film meant for that.
Yeah, yeah.
There is no songs in the film, there is
Yeah.
no commercial aspect in the film.
Right.
It's a very hard hitting realistic kind of a film, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's how, I mean, he is as in his judgment and his instincts are very, very strong.
Sure.
So
So who influences who? Let's say, does he insist on knowing which film you are signing? Do you insist on knowing which film he's distributing?
no, we don't insist. It's a very natural thing that we share.
Okay.
So it does not come as, "So what are you doing now?" It's not like that. Automatically, it's like when he comes back, or we are sitting and chatting, or we are having coffee, so I was like, "Oh, I heard this script and this is the producer. Should I do it? Should I not? Aisa hai usme, waisa hai usme," kind of a thing. So it's something that Anil and me just share, our point of views. Even if he comes back from a meeting he's had with the producer and things are working out, he's dressed, he's, "I met that person today and this is the film, and I'll show you the trailer." And then both of us lying down and watching the trailer on his computer and, talking about it. So it's not a thing that one can insist.
Yeah. So tell us about, actually, because later on it does come up. Tell us about Unir's film Shab. Can I sort of ask you what a Shab means?
Shab means night. So Shab basically is a love story between these three people. I'm playing this fashionista. Three people, it's a straight love story.
Three people?
No, three people. Two women and one guy. So it's like, it's a kind of a triangle kind of a thing. But it's very beautifully, very poignantly written. I mean, there are moments in the film which are just completely beautiful. You just completely identify. And there's so many characters in the film where at some point you do end up identifying yourself with that somebody.
Okay.
I play this, very hoity-toity Delhi socialite who's, used to snapping her fingers and getting everything, and how life happens to her and how she kind of changes. So it's got these thin shades of grey, not exactly black.
Yeah.
But there are times where she kind of gets grey and then kind of gets back on the path, and that is the tough part to do in any role. But I'm actually waiting to do an out-and-out evil role.
But you did that, right? You
I'm
did
waiting
that.
to do that. No,
In Ux, you were really
Ux,
bad.
I was not bad.
You were negative.
I was not negative. I was that doting woman in love who was in love with a villain. So would do anything for him. In fact, that was the thing. In fact, see, how much ever I would have wanted to, I didn't even double cross Manoj with Amit Ji in the film. I didn't. Whereas Manoj tried jumping into his body and all that happened. But see, I was true, I was loyal, so I was not bad. I want to do bad. I want to do bad.
You want to be bad.
Yeah.
In fact, talking about Ux, now Amitabh Bachchan has worked with your dad, Ravi Tandon, in several films.
Yes.
So obviously you've known him like growing up, right? You probably sat in his lap and stuff like that on sets.
Yes.
So then what was it like facing him?
In fact, I think every time when I'm in front of him, I'm really awkward. I start babbling because I kind of goof up every time what I'm supposed to say and something else comes out. That's the kind of, state he puts me in. But the thing is that because I knew that I've so much, grew up being in awe of him, that doing Ux was a very big challenge for me because I had scenes where I had to just look into his eyes and tell him all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And that was a little difficult for me. So the only way I could do it is not let him himself overpower me by just being with his presence there, is I kept to myself throughout the film. I didn't bring that relationship in that film to the sets. So I would come on the sets, I'd do my good morning, good morning, good morning. I would take my book and go and sit in the furthest corner ever. So that rapport does not happen. How are you, beta? How are you? What's happening? And this and that. And then I wouldn't have been able to look into his eyes and say those lines. So all what I did was, and in fact he must have really gotten really put off with me, and then was she showing me attitude or what it is. But the thing is that I just could not help it, because the minute if that relationship would have come in, I would have been a goner.
True,
I wouldn't have been able to give it back to him, you know, the way I was supposed to in the film. And luckily for me, maybe that strategy worked, because that year I won all the commercial and the, you know, academic awards for Ux. So it kind of worked for me, that strategy. But then till date I'm saying sorry to him for that. Till now I'm saying sorry.
But I mean, what sort of an uncle was he like on sets and all that? Was he doting? Was he like serious?
No, he was a lot of fun always. I remember in Kashmir, my dad was shooting for Khar, and I must have been then at that time, Khar time, I must have been 6 or 7. I've seen him since I was, I think, 1.5 or 2 years old. So that small I was when I knew him. And I remember during Khar in Kashmir, I must have been about 5 or 6 years old. And I was sitting at the judge's seat, and that's the time I realized that he can really intimidate me. You know, the shoot was of a court scene, okay, and he's in the kathera. So the cameras were on him, okay, from this angle. And he's there, and his look was me, and I was happily, you know, fooling around on my dad's set. So I'm very excited that I'm getting to sit on the judge's seat. So I was sitting on the judge's seat and making faces and doing this and doing that and everything and having my fun. And the shot started, and suddenly I realized Amitji is looking at me and saying all the dialogues, because I was his look.
Exactly.
I was the judge's look. And Your Honor and this and that and serious dialogues, and I was like, I can't look at him. I can't look at him. I was so scared to even look at him that I thought if I look at him, I'll start smiling or something and I'll ruin his shot. Sure. Yeah. I think from that day onwards, I've been always intimidated by him, you know, to a certain degree.
Tell me, do you have acting influences from the actresses in the 50s and 60s? Did you have, were you influenced by them and molded yourself accordingly in any way?
See, Induji, you know how I started, right? You interviewed me, I think, about a zillion times.
And I interviewed you before your first film.
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
So it's, I never thought I would become an actress. That was not my aim, that was not my goal. I never even thought about it, you know. So it was never that I thought that, oh, I will be like this actress, or I molded myself according. Like I said, I just started, you know, I said yes one day and the next day I was in front of the camera. So there was no time for me to even think that how am I going to act. If I've ever acted, I've only acted like myself, you know. It's never been, in fact, the first shot that I ever gave in my life, I took 3 retakes for. All I had to say was, hello daddy. That's all I had to say. Hi daddy. Walk in and say hi daddy. And I just didn't get it right the first time. So there were 3 takes. Not too many. For someone who's never faced the camera, all I had to do was say hi daddy and walk into a room. Yeah. And I did 3 takes for that.
So who are the girls acting today who you feel have something to offer the film industry?
According to me, Deepika Padukone is stunning. From a model to an actor, I think she has metamorphosized, you know, as in the sense that, and besides being a beauty, I'm talking even about performances, which I find little, I mean, you know, at this point to learn so fast is fantastic. We all took time to evolve. True. But she's done it in a span of, you know, like really a few years, which is extraordinary. I think Alia is another one to look out for. She is also fantastic. She came as that cute doll, you know, baby doll kind of a thing in Student of the Year. But when you see Highway, she still has that little, you know, innocent doll kind of a look. But her performances are strong, which is really good. So these 2 currently my favorites, definitely.
Of course, you didn't want to be an actress, but you did come from a film family. What advice would you give youngsters today who are not connected with films, but who still want to act? What would you tell them?
Films is not all glamour and fun that you think you see or you read. It's not only all about gossip and, you know, looking like a diva. It's hours and hours of hard work put into it. There are songs which I have done, which you might, or scenes that you think it looks damn glamorous on the outside, or what an outfit she's wearing. But ultimately, when I used to come back home, I used to be bruised, I used to have cuts over my body. I did this song in Vinashak, where I was wearing a metal skirt and a metal jacket. And believe you me, when I used to come back home, I used to have bruises and cuts all over my body.
Because of
when
the
I'd
clothes.
be dancing, because of that metal jacket and to
Yeah,
dance in
yeah,
that
yeah.
whole thing. So it's not easy. Everyone thinks it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of actual physical labor. But then if you're hardworking and you're dedicated and talented, then nothing can stop you, because I think that's ultimately what takes
yeah,
you,
true.
you know, across.
Tell me, what's the status of Bombay Velvet? Are you in it? Were you in it? Are you doing it? What's happening?
You know what happened with Bombay Velvet is that it's basically just a friendly walk-on part that I did for these boys.
Okay.
Anurag I know since Shul, he's a very, very dear friend. Madhu Mantena I know since Shul again. So these two boys we used to, during Shul, I mean since 2000, we always were only hanging out, all of us together. Like Anurag was working in plays at that time. He tried his hand at acting and stuff.
Yeah,
So our full gang would go, like the whole Shul gang would go and sit and cheer him on when he would do his plays, and you know, then we'd all head out for dinner. So we were all the same age group and we would all just hang with each other. So when they made this really huge film, so both of them came and sat down, plonked themselves in my house. You have to do it. I said, listen, after so long now, again I'm coming in a guest appearance or a friendly appearance. I said, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. Arey, hear the songs, hear the songs, hear the songs. So I heard the songs. I changed my mind a little. I said, the songs are fantastic. You know, it's jazz, which I've never played before. I've never done jazz kind of music before. And then the emotional blackmail started. How can you not be in our film? We can only see you do this part and you have to just do it for us, like a good luck this thing, and you know. So I said, okay, fine. So over lots of lunches and dinners, we all sat down and, you know, worked the whole lookout and everything. And it was just, it was all for fun, basically. And the last piece of resistance that came was when I saw the film.
Okay, okay.
It is one of the most fantastic films I've seen in this decade, at least.
Oh.
You know, I mean, it's what Anurag has made. I don't think any maker has been able to achieve as far as a period film goes. You know, the authenticity and the way he takes you back. It's at the level of any top class Hollywood, you know, classic, which is probably made. You know, whether you see a Godfather or you see a Chicago or you see anything, you're completely transported. Which unfortunately a lot of our filmmakers have not been able to do because of the you know, maybe a few things, like they could not get the sets right, or you know, maybe somewhere in the infrastructure we were lacking behind.
Right.
But over here, or the sets would end up looking tacky, or something would be, and you wouldn't believe, oh, this is that period that they're showing. It is a set kind of a thing.
Yes, it looked like a set.
It would look like a set, you know.
Yeah.
But this is a film which you're completely transported back, and you really realize how Mumbai was made. You know, so I think it's one of his best works. And so what happened was that somewhere along when the editing was happening, forget the editing, I think what really happened was that a lot of my part in Bombay Velvets is suddenly getting very overhyped.
Okay.
You know, I mean, people were only writing, even if they'd come on the sets of Shab, they were only asking me about Bombay Velvet. Talk about Bombay Velvet. I said, listen, but I am just doing 2 songs in the film for the fun of it, for my friends. So let's talk about Shab, which is a film that I'm doing. No, but we heard this is happening in Bombay Velvet. We heard, so you know, for them it was more of this thing. So I started feeling that it's getting unnecessarily overhyped. Completely, because I don't want people thinking that there's this full-fledged role of mine in the film, and then suddenly there are 2 songs. Where were you in the film? But I have been saying in every interview of mine that I am just doing a friendly appearance. So let's get that clear. You know, but that was just not happening. So I mean, it was kind of. So then in the end, I just turned and said, you know what, Bombay Velvet, they're editing right now. I don't know if I'm there or no in the film. So just to put everything to rest, I said, listen, I don't know if I'm there also or no in the film. So then this journalist asked me, so I've heard your role is completely chopped in Bombay Velvet. I said, yeah, I'm not there in the film. You're not in the film. So have you and Anurag had a fight, or have you all rifted? That also story came out. Then now Anurag and me have had a rift. I said no. I said that Anurag and me are friends. We will always remain friends. I did this as a friendly gesture, and if not this film, we'll do something else together. So, but whatever portion of Anurag during the editing he keeps, you know, it's his prerogative, and it'll be better for the film. Whatever they do, it'll be for the betterment of the film. So that's fair enough. Anyway, we did it for the fun of it, and we all had fun on the sets. So that was just a party that we had.
So you wouldn't feel upset with him if it wasn't there, or if only parts of it were there? Compared to what you shot, I mean, I'm not saying that you shot like
No, what we shot, we will definitely keep.
Keep, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's where
I
it stands.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
So there's no like...
There's no fight happening?
No, yeah, sadly no.
My God.
We might be very soon working on something else which is coming up. So,
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
and see, I would understand if there was a fight where, you know, he had promised me this and he had promised me that and it didn't
Yeah,
happen. Nothing
yeah.
of that sort has happened. And even if a call has to be taken, ultimately the director is the boss.
Absolutely.
It's his visual, it's his film, it's
Yeah,
his
yeah.
vision, and whatever has to happen for the betterment of the film.
Absolutely,
And I realized that because I've been a director's daughter all my life.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's okay with me if it's there, it's not there. We had a blast. We went like Sri Lanka and it was like we have all gone back to shul.
Right.
You know, so it was like that. It was
Yeah.
really good catching up and being with everyone.
You know, there's so many songs of yours. I mean, it's so difficult to list. But I've sort of, I'm going to talk about 4, which are my personal favorites. One, of course, Mast Mast. Of course, Tip Tip Barsa Pani from the same film. Akhiyon Se Goli Mari is one of my favorite songs, by the way. I see it like almost every night before sleeping.
Oh God.
Yeah, I really, really do love it. And also, Kisi Disco Mein Jaye.
Yes.
The two. Now, what I want to ask you is that how difficult, now both Akshay, 2 are with Akshay and 2 are with Govinda, were these great dancers always. How difficult or easy was it to deal with them? How different are they in their dancing styles?
It was very easy because I was better than them. You should have asked them this question. Okay, how was it keeping up with Raveena? No, they're both dear friends, and Akshay I've known very closely as well, and Chichi is a very, very dear friend. They're both very competitive. They are fantastic people in their own right. They're very hardworking people. Very hardworking. I mean, I've really seen Akshay work very hard. Chichi is effortless. You know, with Chichi, it's a very, very effortless kind of a thing. He just comes there and does it and you're just gaping at him. You know, that how did he do such a heavy scene? I mean, he can make you laugh and cry at the same time. He's that talented. You know, Chichi is a great actor, a great performer, a great dancer, undoubtedly. But with Chichi and me, it was more of a competition. You know, see, with Akshay, he uses his might. You know, he's a very strong guy, so he uses his might in every strong step and everything. You know, he puts his full mehnat in.
Right.
With Chichi, it's more about grace and, you know, the way he would take it. So he and me would enjoy that. You know, we just like look at each other and go into our own flow. And then it would be like a competition. If his shot was better than mine, I would say, nahi, one more. Then my shot was better than his. He says, nahi, Raveena, you don't do this, now I'll give you a better take. You know, so we enjoyed our, you will not believe, Akhiyon Se Goli Mare and Kahin Disco Mein Jaye. Normally a song takes 5 to 7 days. We shot these songs from morning to evening, pack up.
What?
In one day.
Yeah?
In one day. In Mauritius, Ganesh did one song and Chini Prakash did one song. Kahin Disco Mein Jaye was done with Ganesh in Mauritius.
Okay.
We started shooting in the morning and by evening we were done. We just had one line left because the location had to be shifted. That one line we shot the next day and continued the scene over there. So we had finished that song. Akhiyon Se Goli Mare was shot in Ramoji Rao Film City and Chiniji did that. We started shooting in the morning. By evening, the last shot, we are walking down the steps and waving out.
Yeah,
That was the last shot, sunset, light was going and we packed up after that. Song was over. So, you know, we were like that. Chichi and me were like that as far as the songs go. We just rehearse once or twice and then we would go give it our best.
Oh, wow.
So they would shoot like a full Mukhra and Antara with us in one shot, with 3 cameras.
Yeah.
So that was good fun.
Yeah. Raveena, thanks a lot. You've been so, it's been so entertaining actually talking with you. Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for coming on this episode of the Post Dialogues. We've had a great time.
It was very easy because I was better than them.